very few people who are using these tools on the day-to-day basis. They're probably doing it, but there's still 99%, of the world who maybe are just using it occasionally, and many people are not even using it at all. But whatever use case that just using it as a thought partner, on any of the aspects, questions you're dealing with professionally, personally, can be, one way of using these tools.
From cloud to code, oh, we're everywhere.
It's so good to see you guys. And on this, when we're recording on Monday morning, and I know it drops on Thursdays. Welcome to this week's episode of AI Because. And Michael is not able to join us. He's got his kids graduating, not high school. They're graduating whatever the promotion is up to the next level. So we're with you, Michael. We're with you.
Like mini graduation.
Yes, yeah. The little mini, the milestone graduations. Yeah, the ones on the way to the way to the way to the thing. And so I'd love us to go around the room, see what's going on, what's happening. I know there's a lot in the space. Emma knows you've got some functionality within Copilot you want to show us as well. And we're going to kick off with Steve because Steve claims that he does not have a shortage of what he wants to share with people.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's I use AI for almost everything, right? And so anyway, so among other things in the last 2 weeks, what I've used AI for is I'm on the finance committee of our homeowners association, and we have a pretty big HOA. So we had 24 contracts, and I fed all 24 contracts to the AI and had it produce a contractual summary of each one. Now in the process, I ran into some hallucinations. It's interesting to learn.
Yours or AI? Yours or AI?
Well, they would have been mine if I wouldn't have noticed them. It would have been the AI that caused mine too. But what happened here is I fed there. We actually had, I think it was, maybe it was 21 contracts, but there was 24 documents because some were like addendums. And so anyway, but what happened is then AI spit out an analysis that included a couple of bogus contracts, right? And so
identifying the potential.
right with companies that are real companies but not companies that we're contracted with, right? And so then I had to do like about an hour of back and forth, and then I was like, all right, look, I just want these whatever 20 contracts, and so I'm expecting this output, and please do that. So after finally telling it what all the output was, it no longer included extraneous output, and it did a good job for the ones there. But it produced a nice, like, handy summary of all these disparate documents that we had, and so it was very helpful. But again, it goes back to not just giving something to the AI and expecting the output to be right, but rather using some judgment and some experimentation to get exactly what you want out of the AI, right?
So it's interesting you said that. What was the goal? What was the goal of coming?
My goal was I didn't want to have to always go look at 24 different documents, right? I wanted to have one concise summary of everything, because this was for a budgeting process, right?
Right.
And so that's what I ended up getting. It very helpful. And so the AI helped me fulfill the goal and helped me fulfill it faster than I would have if I would have had to pour through each of those.
That was my next question. What do you think directionally correct it would have taken you? Timeline.
I think it would have taken me at least 4 hours or more. So it saved me an order of magnitude of about 3. It saved me 3 hours of 4. So saved 75%.
More than 4 hours for 24 documents, right? You're talking about 24 documents.
Yeah, maybe it would have taken me more. Maybe it would have taken me more. Okay,
Yeah.
but even conservatively, right?
Yeah.
Even
Well,
conservatively.
can you imagine?
Break in the middle.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine him sitting there focused on that for 4 hours. There's no way. It probably would have taken you 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right? But regardless, right? Directionally, it was a huge, and that's the other thing about all this stuff. You don't need to have an exact number for everything in terms of how much time it's saving. Directionally, it's the right move, right? And so,
I'm not saying that. I'm
yeah,
just saying
yeah,
it saved a bunch of
it
time.
saved a bunch of time.
Yeah.
And actually, I know how I'm going to extend this analysis further, right? Because this was a good summary, but I want to next go to like risk and top areas of improvements, right? So once you have a good solid foundation in place, you can then extend it out and improve upon it.
Do you think now the contracts that you had, I'm assuming were multi-page?
Oh yeah, oh, absolutely.
So that's the thing. I wonder, at what point do we hit the limit of where AI is able to successfully navigate through? And I know there have been studies and tests on all this stuff. And could you have hit the upper limit on that? My brain also goes to, if it's something that, we're consistently going to, is it part of the knowledge within Copilot, right? If you have that ecosystem within a OneDrive or a SharePoint, right, to where you can tap it and create it in the moment, because I'm sure you used some, Chat GPT or some, AI there.
Yeah,
But the other
so
part
I end up going to Gemini because it has
okay,
the largest context window.
okay,
That's ultimately, that what you were describing is the context window, right?
yes,
Its ability to retain and remember information from
uh-huh.
a conversation, right?
I think that's an important call out, though, Steve.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
not,
I
we're
totally
not just
agree.
going to go, because those are a lot of documents, a lot of pages.
Yes,
I know
yeah.
we bump up against challenges like that. So for me, Copilot is an option. Another one is Notebook LM, that you can be in that
Yes.
space and tap into it. I was listening to the All In podcast, and they were talking about just rating different organizations on where they are with, they're not calling Gen AI anymore. It's like super power or super brain or whatever the super
Super
thing.
intelligence.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. It was a different, I didn't think it was a different word, but anyway, yeah, maybe that's it. But it's that space on who's good. And I don't give enough credit to Gemini and the Google stuff and the
Very
work.
solid now. It's
They
very
don't,
solid. Yeah.
currently
But I
don't
think
the
but
level.
what it also highlights,
Oh, good.
finish your point, Michelle. Yeah.
No, you're
Sorry.
so excited. I think currently they don't have the interconnectivity that Copilot has, that Microsoft 365. And that's what I'm really hoping that Google catches up, because there's this opportunity, because they do have a full suite of stuff.
Mm.
They have the Gmail, they have the Google Drives, they have the stuff, but they don't have the linkage with the intentionality that Microsoft has done with Microsoft 365 and Copilot. And so that to me is the holdout, because I look at it and go, I don't want to give up my Google Drive and all the stuff that I have on there. And I would love I want this thing that can connect like Copilot does within the Microsoft world.
To your point, there's one area that it's really good at though, is that when you use Google Deep Research, you can output those into Google Docs, right? And so that's actually my normal workflow when I do research, because before I purchase or sign up for any software service, I always do a deep.
Me and the lifetime subscription.
Well, yes, yeah, that is very true, especially if it's a lifetime subscription, which
Yeah,
I am, as you know, I am a huge
been
fan of.
listening. If
This
you
is
wanna
a
sell something,
You're a
you need to get
collector.
lifetime.
He's a
Well,
collector.
I wouldn't go that far. But anyway, so my normal workflow is I will do a competitive analysis. I will have Google Deep Research do a competitive analysis. I will export that to Google Docs, and then I will highlight the key areas. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Manoj,
But
what
all
were you
right, so
saying?
I'll tell you one other use case I'll just
I
mention.
think Manoj had did you have a comment
Yes.
on what we were saying now? I
I
think
think
you
just
did.
something I heard on the podcast earlier today, which ties in with the example Steve is sharing today, and
Yeah.
he shared in the past that everybody should use AI as a thought partner. So that's like the most basic use case, that whatever you're doing, just use it as a thinking partner in sort of any activity. Yeah, some activities it'll do well, some activities it'll not do well, but just having that available all the time and getting into that habit is something, I'm also recommending, because not many people do that, right? So yeah, very few people who are using these tools on the day-to-day basis. They're probably doing it, but there's still 99%, of the world who maybe are just using it occasionally, and many people are not even using it at all. But whatever use case that just using it as a thought partner, on any of the aspects, questions you're dealing with professionally, personally, can be, one way of using these tools.
I would agree. It's interesting. I've got a friend of mine who's a leader and is going through this executive program internally within the organization. And she and I were chatting at the end of last week, and she said, it's amazing, Michele, how many like senior leaders in the organization have a very strong opinion against AI and they don't use it. And so I think it's one of those things, if you're in that camp, right, to where you have a really strong opinion against it, or you say to yourself, I should really check that out. I hands down agree, Manoj, because you will quickly become irrelevant and not keep pace with colleagues who are using it. Because you can produce things faster. There's not the barrier to your point, Steve. If someone had told you, hey, I want you to do a summary, a high level executive summary of all the contracts that we have so that we can go, and you would go pound sand, go find somebody else, because that's not what I want to do. But because AI was there to help you as a thought partner, you're like, well, this would be kind of fun. Right? It's a completely different thing that we're going to step into, because the stuff that we just dread doing that probably wouldn't get done, we're able to do. Yeah.
And I'll share two other stories. One is I was testing out the note-taking capability of I tried both Gemini and ChatGPT. Specifically, what I wanted to do is there's times that I get these videos, and yes, I want the summary of the video, but often there's some supplemental figures or drawings or whatever that are really, really nice to have. And so I fed an MP4 file to both Google, Gemini, as well as to ChatGPT, and I asked it not only to extract the summary of what the speaker was saying, but also to extract any figures presented during the video. And so what I learned from that little test is it's not quite there. What it did a good job. It described the video, right? Like the drawings that, like this one person I follow, he does a lot of drawings on his iPad when he's talking, right? And so what it did is it described in words these drawings. So it didn't give me the picture.
It described them.
Right, it described it, which is not better than nothing, but not what I wanted, right? So I realized, all right, I won't be able to get, because I tried 2 different ways. I realized, all right, I'm not going to get the picture that I want. I said, how about this? Just return for me, please, the timestamp in the video that these images are presented, because that's the other thing is they draw, and then it takes a while to lead up to the full picture. So anyway, return the timestamps, and that approach I think is viable for getting me what I want for the time. Yeah. So that was good. And then the other thing I realized is that I like when the weather's nice to go to the pool and get some relaxation, but at the same time I don't like
nobody else likes to do that. Nobody else.
Yeah, but me, I like to hear. I had a whole stack of things I wanted to read, so I just fed them to Notebook LM, and then so I could listen to them in Notebook LM while I'm out at the pool. So that's a really good thing.
People do that while driving too. So you've got your own little
exactly.
podcast.
Yeah.
Or stuff in the like Audible that isn't inaudible. So yeah. I think it's a good practice. Yeah.
So between that and then I don't think we've mentioned yet that there was a 5x 80% price reduction, right, in the O3 APIs cost. And what's not the point in mentioning this is not that I think many people are going to be using those APIs, but just in 1 week it shows how fast things are changing, right? How fluid this space, that you can have an 80% price reduction in the latest and greatest AI model that OpenAI offers in
Why
the
do you
case
think
of
they
1
did
week.
that?
Because they optimize their back end infrastructure.
No, but why would they do that? Why would they
Oh,
do
because
that?
they want to stay ahead of the game.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah,
there's
they
a
want
lot
to stay ahead of the game. Yeah,
of
absolutely.
competition. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure they used the LLM to identify those efficiencies and where they could get
Mhm. Yeah.
that. I mean, I
Because
would.
I think what it does is, at least for the small and medium businesses, is it opens up more use cases where you
Mhm.
can deploy these technologies from an automation perspective. Because previously the use cases which have like straightforward answers, they were possible, but where you want like deep thinking, that's what this is about, the O3 model, which can do a slightly deeper thinking and give you more thoughtful responses. It was very expensive. So by
Yeah.
doing this now, it makes, it increases the number of use cases uh, by reducing, the price, which can now be possible and make.
Give some examples, Manoj, of use cases that would incur, like when you talk about 80% reduction,
Yeah.
and it increases the number of use cases, what in your mind would have been possible that was cost prohibitive, right? Or price
Yeah.
prohibitive,
So
it's now
yeah.
possible.
Yeah, so one example could be analyzing your customer complaints. So if you have a lot of customer complaints and you want AI to think through and read those customer complaints and find trends and patterns within those customer complaints, then that was expensive previously. So any task where you want to read a lot of text, so the task Steve was talking about, where reading 24 documents, 24 different reports, and then coming with thoughtful summary or coming back with thoughtful insights, that is what O3 model can be utilized for, but it was expensive. So then, even though it was technically possible, many small, medium organizations may not want to use it because of the cost, but now, it can become possible. And I think OpenAI has been doing this like every 6 months. They have been trying to reduce the cost by 80% because they are able to scale and have more infrastructure in the back end. So it's been going on for like 18 months, that every 4 to 6 months they just slash the cost by 80%.
So you're talking the transactional fees that happen, right? Because my exposure into any OpenAI platform, I'm not exposing myself to the fee for service, right? When the transaction happens, I'm paying an extra whatever. It's interesting when you say that. My brain, the example that you gave, my brain went to Copilot, and I'm like, we're not paying incremental within the Copilot space to do that similar stuff. And so it's an interesting upside in that environment. Granted, there's other apps that you can get yourself into, paying transactional, right? The more you use it, the more you're gonna pay. But it's an interesting space.
Yeah, because there is the front end aspect here where a human triggers the analysis of, let's say, a customer service complaint. But what we're talking about in API is that you can trigger, let's say, end of every week. So every Friday, you have a program which will automatically take all the customer complaints and it will analyze and then email the analysis of what it found in those customer complaints. So that is something then which happens in the back end, and then you need to use an API. Which is what these costs are associated with, where you want to do things in the back end in an automated way. And then, the right humans are informed about what AI finds in that.
Well, and I think that's it, is what you're talking about is it's not the surface stuff real time that you're doing. It is the handoffs that are happening from one aspect or one system or one not modality, but one system, one function that you're doing those handoffs in the back end. It's the connector to all that stuff.
That's right. You literally, I mean, I know someone who is looking at doing a use case of having the AI analyze all emails, right? And then to send to a separate escalation email address anytime that customers request negative, express negative sentiments in their email. So there's, and all that's using APIs too. So any kind of automation use case is pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to talk to people about what that means and what it is.
Yes, absolutely.
And an 80% reduction, do you know it went from what to what?
Oh God, I want to say I don't know because the price is not, the price, it's like a price per token, and
Okay.
Yeah.
so when you quote the price, it doesn't really mean much because it is, it's one of these things just
You
like
didn't know what it was before, but it's
like
80% less now.
it's often like I tell you, there's many expressions of risk. Manos, this is your area, of course, risk
Yeah.
where risk, absolute risk doesn't necessarily mean much because it's all about relative risk. Did my risk increase or decrease, right? And I say that this is kind of one of these relative numbers as well. Has the price gone up or down, and how directionally, how much has it gone up
See,
or
and
down?
that's where I actually want to know the context.
Yes. Right.
Percentages don't mean a lot unless we put them within context of stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Greg,
Yeah.
what's on your
Yeah,
mind? What's been happening in your world?
but I
I know.
found Michelle. I found the number on that. So it's
Good.
basically $8 per million tokens was the
Okay.
price before, and it's $2 per million token.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And a million
from $8
tokens
to
will get you
$2.
handing off 5 emails.
Yeah.
No, a lot
I'm
more.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Well, and that's a hard thing when you're trying to do comparisons across different platforms, right? And I think
Right.
about Zapier and Make or Late Note or all the stuff.
Right.
It's like, so what does this cost really mean?
Yeah.
Well,
Right?
and you know what, what you find is when you start looking like at the automation platforms, one of the key expressions of cost there is the price per operation, right?
Yes.
And so there's different bases in which you can allocate price, charge, like whereas late node charges per execution time.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's very, it's
Well, at Zapier, that people took a pass at Zapier and they've restructured stuff. And what they do is those transactions that happen, you get so many operations or transactions for whatever you pay.
mhm.
And if they're done internally to where you're not going outside of Zapier to do it, they don't count against that allocation that you're given.
Right.
And so it's important to know, but it also makes it really challenging to do an apples to apples comparison across these
Yeah.
platforms, which I have to wonder if at some level it was intentional.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Greg, what's happening?
Well, just on that note, I mean, OpenAI is very wise in really publicizing this because as there's more and more agent builders with that scalability, uh, people are just going to direct, their integrations back to chat, and instead of looking for other models. So it can be expensive with, even with chatbots on your website. If it's getting a lot of action, it can turn into a lot of cash. So
Mhm.
for a lot of tokens is what we should be saying. So OpenAI is very wise in publicizing this right now
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
I
So
need to admit,
what have you been chasing
well,
lately?
I need to make a little bit of a omission here is that in following Steve, I did get a lifetime membership for Vocable because I will be using that later in the summer with one of my other projects. So he's had some influence on me, and yeah, I'm all in here now.
I'm
Okay.
telling you the way of thought. You can save a lot of money, but you have to predict correctly. You have to buy distinguish, things that are differentiated, not Me Too applications, because they're going to go out of business and you're
Right.
going to lose your lifetime subscription if they're not differentiated.
Yeah.
So
And so Steve casts a wide net in order to make sure he captures some of those type subscriptions.
Yeah. I think it's important to watch what the big players are doing with kind of the poaching of some of the uh, high level engineers and things going Meta, what Meta's been up to, trying to poach some of the OpenAI
Oh,
people,
geez.
and
I mean,
yeah, Elon has been on a hiring spree as well, is what I'm hearing. So as we filter that down to maybe some of the rest of us, there's two things that are important. I want to put your mind at ease. I haven't, Zuckerberg hasn't called me, to bring me on yet. So I'm
offering you
here
a
with you
hundred
for
a
a while
hundred
yet.
million dollar bonus or to
Yeah.
sign you up for 100 mil. Really?
but his dog is getting smarter, and you're gonna, you being a vet, he might be calling you now.
Yeah. But, yeah. As we look at that as more of our small to medium business level, I mean, you really have to take notice that if there's that much money put into HR at the high levels, it needs to be done, at a small and medium-sized business level, and it needs to be done soon. Things are moving really, really quickly. Myself, I've been working on kind of a group project. We're doing some research on something that we're maybe entering as a new project, and so flipping back and forth between chat and Gemini, doing some research. So it being able to doing some website scraping a little bit is valuable, and that's what some of the deep research stuff allows us to do that we couldn't do 3, even 4 months ago. So that's again just the advancements that we're seeing. Some of the information that you can rerun some of the get your first draft, so to speak, and then rerun that into a different platform just brings out things that I wasn't aware of and need to be aware of. So kind of got that information. Now putting it into a presentation kind of took me into the weeds over the weekend. Midjourney now has a video generation service, which is brand new. I avoided that because I was already knee deep in Kling and working with some of the prompt engineering and what the detailing you can get in some of the new video generation stuff is amazing. VO, I've looked at some of their stuff, but I just wasn't diving into that one just yet. I do have a Klingon or a Kling Pro model that I'm working with now, so I'm going to spend a little more time trying to master that before I move into the VO3. But there's some incredible things happening with image and video generation right now.
I heard, again, I'll go back to All In, and they talked about a number of things, but one of the comments that was made is VO3 is going to put Hollywood out of business. I don't know. I haven't played in that space, haven't worked with it, but it's an interesting thing as we can take, I've heard this from a couple different ways. We can take the perspective of victim mode and all this stuff because it's going to displace and disrupt, if you will, pretty much how we operate, what we do, how things are done. I'm not in the Hollywood space of making videos and edits and all that. That being said, I think it's important for us, regardless of where we're at, to take a look and not look in victim mode, but look at where can we capitalize on these opportunities to do things bigger, faster, stronger, whatever it may be. Because there's an opportunity to step into spaces maybe that we weren't able to step into before. But if we sit in this space of oh my gosh, this is what I've always done, and it's no longer happening, or I'm no longer able to do it or make money at it, you shut down everything. And I think it's important for all of us to take a look at the opportunity that sits before us and not the mourning the past or what's no longer going to be around, because we're not stopping this high speed bullet train. It's just not happening.
Right.
The thing that came to mind, because we were talking about, and I wrote down, we were talking about Meta playing in the space they're doing aggressively, going after people. Google in the space that they're playing, Elon Musk doing what he's doing. These are players that are playing they're building the stuff, they're disrupting in a different level. And I think it's important for all of us at whatever level we are in business and the space that's within our sphere of influence, the span of control, that we take a look at where those disruptive innovation opportunities are. We're not building our own LLM, or maybe you are, right? But that being said, how can we capitalize on what others are doing and what's being built? How do you stay connected to what the latest and greatest is so that you're not thinking, because I've had people make comments, well, Copilot's not that great. So when did you last play with Copilot? When did you last use it? Right? Because I think one of those things is where in the past we would go, oh, I don't like that. They're terrible. Like, I'm not going to shop at Kmart, or people thinking, products from China are crap. Well, at some point when we weren't watching, products from China became really great products. And I think it's important for us to understand what's actually happening in the world and not take that snapshot from the past and think that that's how it is from this point forward. We've got to stay connected to what's really going on.
Yeah, this pattern has repeated itself many times over, right? It happened with digital cameras. It happened with, I mean, this is the history of technology. It gets, and it's been happening with AI like this, but the improvements are slow. They're slow. But really, what's happening is underneath there is an exponential improvement. But it just doesn't seem like much because it's starting at such a very small base. But then all of a sudden,
Not slow.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm going to call BS. Do you like the improvements are slow? They're not slow.
they're seemingly slow for a long time. Okay. Well, all right. Regardless, they become dramatically more noticeable, right? And they get much faster as you go along. And so that's what's happening here, and it is getting better. I have no doubt that if I take some of these tests that I was describing earlier and try them again in like 3 months, I'm going to get a better result.
Or
right?
2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Could be
So I think
Could be.
in the All-In podcast, they did mention that the capabilities of AI are like doubling every 6 months. So it's getting double
That's not
smarter
slow. That's not slow.
every 6 months. And humans have never had technology which was scaling that fast. So if you then look at that over 3 years, you're talking about something completely different.
Oh, it's
at the start of those 3 years, and at the
Can you
end
imagine if you
at the
had
end of 3 years.
compounding interest that did that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, it's like nothing. And so for me, and I wrote down 2 words earlier, is as leaders, as businesses, as entrepreneurs, whatever place you're at in this world, what do you need to do to stay relevant and competitive? And I think those are the things that we need to continue to look at and challenge our own thinking and by all means assumptions. There's a huge opportunity to be able to do so much more with what you have, if not less, and the less part can be through attrition. So yeah, I think it's huge.
I was listening to a marketing person talk about this weekend where he was saying, fall in love with your problem, not with your solution, right? So don't worry about, yes, maybe your solution is this, but what is it that what problem are you seeking to solve, right? And use AI to go and solve that problem better, right? That's the way to stay ahead.
Well, and that's what we were talking before we hit record. Greg said, he got caught in the squirrel chasing or rabbit holes or whatever it was. And I think what happens is if you're not leading with the problem, Steve, if you're not really focused on the thing that you're tasked with solving, number one, you don't know if that shiny object actually fixed it. Right? And you can easily get sidetracked with shiny objects and scope creep and everything else if we don't have clarity on the problem first. So it's not just in marketing, it's in operations, business, everything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Manoj, what do you got going, sir?
Yeah, well, I want to share a couple of new features Microsoft Copilot has added because over the May period is where Microsoft has been significantly changing and upgrading the capabilities of Microsoft Copilot, and that is continuing in June. So I just saw this morning something new got added. So I haven't had time to play, but I at least want to put it on the table so people can go and play, and we can cover this in more detail in a subsequent podcast. So let me just share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Copilot. Okay. So the first feature I want to highlight is there is this new create option which is available, which now gives you possibilities to create images. You can create posters. You can also create videos now within Microsoft Copilot. And all of this can be done with your organization's branding colors. So you can also now define your brand templates. You can add your logos, your branding colors, so that any images, posters, videos you create, it'll align with your organization's branding, which I think is amazing.
I want you to do that. I want you to, because Midjourney is your go-to for this stuff, right? I want to see what this looks like as you create images. Because this is
Absolutely.
you're strong on this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this is where we will go and show this in more detail later on, because it just got added. So I'm not sure how good the quality of images
Yeah.
are. I want to see whether they've actually incorporated the 4-row image model, because they were using an older DALL-E model. The images were not great. But we definitely want to show the possibilities in a subsequent session. So definitely the posters look really cool. Based on the templates and examples they have shared here, and for the videos, yeah, they're using Clipchamp. So that's where also they're using stock videos, to create those videos on any particular topic, where you can define a prompt, and then it'll go and create those videos. So that is one big change which has come through, which I was waiting, for like last 3-4 weeks. It's finally ended up in my version, and because they're rolling this out gradually. If you're trying out on your Copilot, if it's not there, you may have to then wait for another days, or maybe a week or so to get this functionality. So this was one I wanted to share. The second big change they have done is in Microsoft Copilot Studio, which is the platform where you can create autonomous agents or semi-autonomous agents. So if you want AI agents to automate certain steps, then you can use Copilot
to build those agents. Are you still able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
the sound went weird.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So I think something happened with the headphone. All right. Okay, you can hear me.
Lost power. I can hear you. It's just you've got a deeper, more rich tone now.
Okay. So another functionality I want to highlight is in Microsoft Copilot Studio, which is where you can create organizational agents. So this is where an organization decides to create an agent and then roll that agent out to all the employees within the organization. And if I open this agent, and the new functionality I want to share is now you can create tasks with team of agents. So within this agent, which provides advice on different policies, I now have a functionality where I can add agents, and there are 2 types of teams of agents I can create. So I can either create an agent which is the subset of a parent agent. So it's like a parent, and a parent agent has 5 or 6 child agents, which then do some specialized tasks, and the parent can then call a specific child agent to do certain tasks. So that's this first functionality where one agent can call many child agents. But then the second functionality where you can also have peers. So I can just have 5 different agents, and they can work as a team. So they are peers, they are equals, they're not parent-child, that they can be called whenever any automation is needed on a certain task. So you can have an agent, for example, to create your Instagram video script. So you can create an agent that anybody in the organization, as part of the automation, if they want to create that script, they can then call that agent, and the agent can then output them that particular script. So we will show more examples of how you can actually roll this out. But I at least wanted to show that these new possibilities are now available within Copilot Studio to create parent-child agents or team of peer agents.
This is huge because I look at, I think, and I mentioned it before with Google, and I'm really hoping that Google catches up to create within the ecosystem of Google. But if you think about organizations that their collateral, their intellectual property, their stuff is within this ecosystem on SharePoints, OneDrives, whatever it may be, this is huge to start streamlining. Granted, Studio is more expensive. It's 200. Is it 200 a month?
$200, yeah, but that's just to create the agent. You can then, once the agent is
Yeah.
created, you can then this out.
But I mean, the savings that you'll have, because I think about just all the stuff, and think about it from this perspective, stuff that you have to do every month, every week, every day, whatever that is, and you're like, I got to do that thing, fill in the blank, whatever the thing is. These are the things that you can then automate, spend the time on the front end of it. Back in process improvement days, we said go slow to go fast. So the go slow is to build it, right? And then the go fast is that it's being done after that. And I think the bigger upside, Manoj, is I'm not going to be drugged down by this thing that I'm going, I don't want to do this thing. I now can stay in a higher energy and be excited about the rest of the stuff and get excited about what other opportunities exist, because that's where I would start. Your pain points. Where's the stuff that you just don't get energy from doing? And it's probably a pretty freaking long list for entrepreneurs, people that have small businesses, because they're wearing a number of hats. Take a look at those hats that don't fit you. Okay. So yeah.
And this is also part of where Microsoft vision, where they're driving organizations, is to a future where you will have a team or a department made of maybe 5 humans, but 200 agents who are collectively working to achieve the objectives of that team or of that department. So this then, just opens up that you can create agents through point and click. You don't need to know, you don't need to be a Python programmer. You don't need to know a lot about technology. You are able to now create these
And
agents.
as the humans take a look, like with anything, right? Trust and verify. Trust but verify. Either one. I'm very aware of saying but instead of and. But trust and verify. And so it's not that you're blindly going to send this stuff off at a macro level, at a dashboard level, at a, what KPIs do you need to look at? What are those performance indicators that you're going to go, okay, we're clicking along. Yes, we're fine. You still need to have those checkpoints to make sure everything's fine, to Steve's point, because it does hallucinate. It can make mistakes. But put that stuff in place. Don't let that be the thing that holds you back.
Well, and there also needs to be a strong element of critical thinking on the front end as to whether that project makes sense in the first place and whether you're defining the rules properly. So there's still humans have an immense, everything still has to start and end with humans right now, right? And so the human is a critical, the most, I would argue, critical factor in this loop. So yeah.
Well, not only that, if it's not for the human saying, yes, I want to explore that, it's not even going to happen.
That's what I'm saying.
So as a human, like, be open to this stuff and where those opportunities exist. For me, what I've found lately is, because I have swim lanes, as all of you do, a number of different spaces that I'm playing in. And what I'm looking at is, where do I currently have subscriptions that I'm paying that have got me hijacked, that they just keep going up, right? Every time I turn around. That where's the opportunity for me to develop it in some other platform that I'm not at the mercy of an organization that every time I turn around is jacking the price up, right? And the justification they give, and I do sound like I'm complaining in victim mode, but I will pull it out of this in a nanosecond. The justification they give is, well, you can now do all these things. Well, if I only need the 2 things that you're doing, do I really need to pay for the other 25 that you're doing as shiny objects? And so it's getting to a point now with a couple of them that I'm like, you know what? I can do this a different way. And so for me, that option is very liberating, the thought of it, to be able to do that and kind of unwind this thing that I think I'm stuck in, but I'm not, because I'm like, okay, how do I export the existing data? So I can upload. So that's where I'm going now, is places that you may feel that you're stuck in a loop and there isn't a choice. I'm going to encourage you, like I'm encouraging myself, challenge your freaking thinking, because with what's out there now, there's another way. There is another way.
Software as a service is very likely going to undergo a really tremendous transformation. The whole architecture, which traditionally has been a bunch of code based on rules and thinking, you can remove a lot of those rules and just put AI that is, has some programming, but it has a lot better ability to think in front of a database and get a lot get further than a lot of these SaaS systems.
Good call.
You don't need as many people.
Yeah. Well, people.
I'll be honest with you. Like when I I've
lifetime
never
too.
bought a car from a dealership. Why do I not buy cars from dealerships? Because there's so much overhead, right? So I don't like paying overhead. You
So
know,
that's why you've got your 1989 Granada.
I don't have a 1989 Granada. But the point is, I mean, like it or not, I try to think about this in all, in everything. I don't like paying a bunch of extra cost for something that's not adding value to the experience I'm getting.
No, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. All right, guys. As always, I enjoy this time. I look forward to more. And have a freaking awesome day, week, moment, whatever it is. Challenge your own thinking. Think outside the box. In fact, like it says, no box required. No box required.
We got the
Until next
spark
time,
in
this
the
is Abby Cuz.
circuits
Have an
now.
awesome freaking day. Thank
SMBs,
you.
listen, we'll show you how. A new wave rising, it's clear and loud. AI's the future, let's make you proud. Data and dreams combine in the air. From cloud to code, oh, we're everywhere. Innovation driving, we're breaking ground. With AI tools, let's turn it around. AI become a use. We're powering your moves. Tech that's here for good, bringing all the moods. Ooh.